What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dr. Professor, Dark Joker, here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are Traditional Fans with Opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. One Piece, episode 1128. So in this one, all the fights are continuing. The Navy's trying to attack Vegapunk's vehicle, he's like his cloud car, whatever it was called, has like these cloud wheels. So then Sanji saves Bonnie from the Navy. Then Kizaru's still trying to kill Vegapunk. Luffy's fighting him. We see some of Zoro fighting Lucci. So yeah, it looks like we're definitely gonna get more of that fight than we did in the manga, which that is one of the big complaints of that arc is we see very little of that fight. And so yeah, basically, it's just the fights going on, and then near the end, Saint Saturn appears on the island and he transforms into his yokai form, and he's giant. The dude's freaking giant. It's like, oh, frick. Like, I knew the guy got big as the yokai, but holy frick, he's big. Yeah. Yeah, then, Bonnie recognizes his voice. Basically, so Atlas tries to, get the pacifistas to attack the Navy, but they don't listen. And basically, her and, you know, the main Vegapunk, they know that the only ones who have a higher authority level than them than any of the Vegapunks in regards to the pacifistas is the five elders. Yeah. Now, where not Emu has higher than them, I don't know. Since that would require Vegapunk to program Emu's authority in there, which probably didn't happen. It's probably just the five elders. So yeah, so basically that means that they realize that means one of the five elders is at Egghead. So it's when Saturn gets to the island, he transfers to his giant spider-esque form. One of the Navy guys, he his head basically gets bloody. Basically, he just dies instantly just from feeling Saturn's presence. The presence just you have Conqueror's hockey that can it can knock people out. Whatever the frick is up with Saturn, he it didn't just knock him out, this guy out. It freaking killed him. That dude is dead just from his presence. Which honestly, that kind of makes Saturn look like a cool villain. And so yeah, this basically establishes Saturn as the main antagonist of this arc. And so Bonnie, she remembers basically a flashback of Vegapunk being told by Saturn to remove Kuma's personality when when he becomes a pacifista. Then Vegapunk's the flashback. He's like, no, that'll kill. Basically, he's like that'll kill. Saturn's he's basically I don't care. And so Bonnie, recognizing Saturn's voice, pulls out her sword or knife, whatever, jumps and stabs Saturn round where his beard's in the middle of his beard. And basically Saturn's just standing there, very nonchalant about being stabbed. And yeah, that ends the episode. This was a very good episode. Very much establishes Saturn as a threat. Basically he's not messing around. He's going straight into his yokai form. He recognizes Luffy as Nika. He straight up calls him Nika. which that's gonna be interesting. How much does he know about the Void Century? How much does he know about the Age of Nika or Age of Gods? What exactly went down? Like, because I mean, we don't know how old the five elders are. We don't know their age. Like, who knows if how long they've been around? We know they're old. They've been around a while. Like, were they around during the when Emmet attacked Mary Joa 200 years before the series began? Were they around? Which was probably by that was probably by a previous user of the of Luffy's fruit. What were the five elders around during the Void City, right? Were they amongst the founding 20? Probably not, but we don't know how long they've been around. But here's what is going. Basically, the big fight's about to go down with, involving Saturn. Now, I read the manga, so I believe that after basically Saturn gets stabbed, basically it leads right into the big Puma flashback. Like, yeah, like it. So like the flashback is gonna happen. I think the big Puma next week is a recap involving Puma and Bonnie. I believe after that is the Kuma flashback. Yeah. So yeah, we're getting that. So what that's been shown in the opening part of the Kuma flashback. Not everything, but we are getting that pretty soon. And yeah, I think it's like in 2 weeks we're getting the Kuma flashback, which is gonna be that is a very hyped part of the series. Like it is very hyped. Like people who've read the manga know why. Like it's gonna be a big flashback. Like one of the most important in this arc. If well, I don't know if it's the most important. It's up there. As far as what's the most important flashback, it'd either be it or the the Sabo flashback as being the most important ones in this arc. Because like we're about to see, there's gonna be some big stuff about to be shown. Like I mean, not everything, but it's gonna be great. I really like this episode. Looking forward to next week's recap, and then hope that looks like the week after it might be it might be the week after it might be the start of the Kuma flashback. So yeah, MobLand episode 6. So in this one, deals with the aftermath of the explosion at the end of last week's episode where Richie's wife was murdered in that explosion. So basically, everyone is summoned to the Harrigan household. So Harry gets his wife and daughter there. Basically, everyone gets all their families. basically like so basically the whole war is about to start. Then so like basically like when like Harry and and basically when they're there, Harry and Kevin are like, what the frick happened? And then basically Conrad says, yeah, I did it. Says that he put a bomb he had a bomb put under that car like weeks ago, basically just in case. But he says what the reason he gives for doing it is because like of what Richie said during the funeral, where he said that Tommy's free game if he sees him. Basically, Palmer says he felt disrespected, so he blew up Richie's wife. Basically, officially starting the game war. And basically, Harry and Kevin, they're pissed. They're like, well, Harry kind of keeps his mouth shut because he's not technically a family member, but Kevin, who's is Conrad's son's, like, what the frick are you doing? We spent so much effort trying to prevent this war. You freaking started. Now, I can say there could be questions of whether or not Conrad actually did it. It could have been Maeve, and Conrad's just taking credit in order to save face. That is possible because in the criminal underworld, if you show signs of weakness, you invite hostility. So it's possible Conrad did not do it and then took the credit for Maeve's actions in order to save face. That is a possibility. And basically Conrad's like, all right, if we're gonna be in this, frick it, we're in this. So basically, it was for the guy, but it's revealed that Brendan, who is one of Conrad and Maeve's children, he's like kind of like the black sheep of the family, kind of forgotten by everyone because he's retarded. And Serafina, who is Conrad's illegitimate daughter from an affair. Basically, they go to Antwerp to deal with this business deal involving uncut gems, and basically they can't be contacted. So basically, Harry is sent to Antwerp to find them. He keeps trying to call them. He calls them, but Brendan basically hangs up. Like he's like, "You work for Harrigan family, so therefore you work for me. Don't freaking call me." And Serafina, who is concerned, texts Henry, texts Harry, asks what's going on, and basically everyone's like, "What the heck?" So, and Maeve calls Richie, offers some form of like peace. Basically, she tells Richie where Serafina and Brendan are, and she basically said that those two. She tells Conrad that those two could be expendable. You know, Conrad's not necessarily on board with that. Basically, like what happens is then so like basically like Brendan and Serafina go through a business deal. It goes bad as kind of expected with it being a TV show. And Maeve having told Richie where Serafina and Brendan are, basically they like there's like this whole firefight, and then like and so Serafina sends her location to Harry. Harry goes to the warehouse where the deal's about to go down. And then, basically while the firefight's going on, like Richie's men start attacking, and then like basically Brendan, like, he kind of gets injured and he like begs for his life and he like pees his pants. Seraphine has a gun pointed to her face, and basically Harry's still on the way, and this leads, and that's how it ends. It's a cliffhanger. So yeah, it looks like the end of this fight will be dealt with next week. And yeah, so basically, yeah, freaking Maeve. Like, I honestly think it is very possible she's the one who had the bomb placed, and basically, Conrad just saved face and trying to say he did it. Because being undermined by his own wife would not look well in a crime family. It just wouldn't. And it's freaking yeah, I thought this was a pretty good episode. Then, yeah, that was a pretty good episode. I thought, obviously the war is kicking off. Yeah, I'm looking forward next week to see how the game war continues. And what happens at the end of that fight in the warehouse. No Go Loser Ranger Season 2, Episode 4. So in this one, Fire D's trying to find a way back into the school. But, and then while he's doing that, he comes across two detectives who are investigating the disappearances. And then, so like he tries to explain what he knows. They tell him what he knows. So they reveal some of the names, and Kyosuke Wakaba being one of the names who they all thought was dead. He's one of the names brought up, so that's what they were concerned about. And, they're trying to find Chidori. Then so inside the school, basically, Hisui like seemingly like indoctrinated. We see some of her backstory with her parents being killed, her like as a school student, basically not liking the monsters. Then her joining the Ranger Force. Yeah, so basically Wakaba is like trying to like basically one of the things he like slashes at her with his like lightsaber. And then basically Chidori saves her by doing something that's like he's like, hey, that's a school violation, causes her to reset. That kind of heals her. And so like then like to help counteract the and basically so the so the two detectives get in and then Fire D's able to get in by disguising himself as the older. Well, it's revealed that the older detective it's actually Fighter D who had knocked out the other one and impersonated the older detective. Then basically the fight starts. Fire D starts fighting Wakaba. And then something happens. He like goes berserk, or whatever, with his like weapon. Gato like turns against Wakaba and helps him. And so like starts helping. And so the younger detective, he like was able to get an idea of the time loops because apparently he watches a lot of anime that involves time loops. So he's like, okay, breaking school rules. So he's like, let's see, what are so there's like a very funny scene where basically he's trying to do a reset, like force a reset in order to help him. So he like kisses Gato to like as like an indecent like this pup PDA like inside school, especially with the teacher. See that but then the principal now who's Wakaba announces, yeah, no rules for the next 10 minutes, and it was like break. So they're like crap, and Gato's like he's like unforgivable. That was my first kiss. And I'm like, that's what you're pissed off about? Like, Like that's what you're pissed off about? Like it's freaking it's play for laughs. It's meant to be stupid. And and of course with the guy, it's like, wait, you watch a lot of yaoi series? Um, okay, yeah, so that's a genre that should not even be ever listed as shonen or seinen. Neither should really any romance, manga, or anime. That should all be listed as shoujo or josei. But that's just my opinion. It's like if romance is a genre, it should automatically be labeled as shoujo or josei. Just in my opinion. That's besides the point. So as far as episode goes, it's pretty good. There's definitely there's setting up a big fight against Wakaba, against Mata Gadia, and so yeah, I thought this was really good. Looking forward to next week's Star Wars: Tales of the Underworld. So it's a six-part series, focused on the criminal underworld, part of the Tales like line of Star Wars shows. So first three episodes focus on the sides of interest. So it shows like the scene from like the Dark Disciple novel. Now, whether or not the burial process is the same as the novel, I don't know. But basically, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Quinlan Voss place her body into a burial pool. Quinlan tells Ventress's corpse that he loves her. Then, due to that, those words, she like is revived by Mother Talzin and the Night Sisters, who tell her that she has a choice: either stay in the nether realm of the Force with them or return to land living. And she returns to the land living, but at the cost of her heart's desire. And so there's a time jump, and then while she's working as security for this ticket booth for off-world shuttles, you know, basically this Padawan named Lycostrata comes in, tries to get transport off-world, but he doesn't have enough money. Ventress starts trying to escort him out, but then stormtroopers appear and try to capture them especially after her boss, like Ventress's boss, like sells them out. So, Ventress and Lyco fight off the stormtroopers. Then Ventress tries to take them to another shuttle. Then an Inquisitor appears and fights Ventress. Then Lyco kills the Inquisitor, and Ventress reveals who she is to him. And, Lyco's not completely trusting her now. He's a lot more friendly than he probably should be to Assad's Ventress. You know, Dooku's main apprentice. And in Disney's timeline, basically at the time she was the apprentice, she was like his only one. I don't think Disney had the whole Dark Acolytes thing that the Expand universe had, or at least they haven't gone into it. There was like different ones at different times because you had Sod's Ventress, then you have Savage Opress, and well, Han Krell was going to become one before he was killed. I don't know if that ever officially happened. You know, then you had Quinlan Voss, and so basically, Ventress tells Lyco she's searching for Quinlan Voss, who Lyco's also searching for because of he Voss has started this thing called the Path, which is a way to get Force users to safety. So they go across, they meet with Ventress's former bounty hunter associate, Lats Razi, and her droid, and basically in exchange for intel, they go, basically Ventress and Lyco help Razi steal this shield relay unit from the Empire. Then there's a firefight, and then basically Razi learns that Lyco's a Jedi, so she decides to abduct him and sell him to the Empire to get a lot of money because Jedi are worth money. Like dead or alive, they're worth a lot of money. So, and Ventress saves Lyco and forces Razi to tell her where the path is. So they learn the coordinates. Now, how a bounty hunter knows those coordinates, I don't know. I, I'm wondering, like, there's a lot of questions about the path. There's a lot of questions about it, but I'll get to that in a little bit. So they go to a planet, they meet this old farmer and his granddaughter who are having a conflict with these aliens over water. Basically, you know, there's conflict, some people have died, and basically, like, seems to be a former separatist planet because they revere the grandfather reveres Ventress as Dooku's apprentice. Like, he calls her Lady Ventress as like a sign, as like a display of respect. And so she like were like basically like so like after bringing peace between them, they find transport towards the path. Lyco's about to go on, but he decides to stay with Ventress, who decides to not search for Quinlan for whatever reason. I Yeah, and that's it. Now, as far as quality of this set of episodes go, yeah, it was a good one. There's a one. Okay, let's start with Ventress being resurrected. So she just walked out of the Nether Realm of the Force. Yeah, dark side is a path to many abilities people find to be unnatural. That is a fact. We're talking about walking out from the like. This isn't force walking or whatever. It's not like a mind walking where like the thing from Fey Gi. This ain't that. Where you project your mind into the force and you lead back into your mind. This is not that. This is like literally you basically like walk out from the nether realm of force alive. I mean that's not like I mean if this was like a will doing that, that'd be one thing because the wills are basically gods. But this is like a mortal. This is a mortal doing that. And what's this say about Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Luke? Well, in Disney's timeline, Luke, you know, Qui-Gon Jinn, Mace Windu, basically every freaking jet light side user. What does this say about them? That they can't freaking, after they die, just walk out alive? Like, death, oh, death. Not a problem, barely an inconvenience. No, that's freaking retarded. Like, reinvent, like, if they she brought herself back, it's not like she did essence transfer or was resurrected by someone like okay, so in the expanded universe, there was a short story where Darth Maul was resurrected by the prophets of the dark side. This was in I believe the short story takes place in year zero. So shortly before, A New Hope. Basically Darth Maul is resurrected by the prophets of the dark side and fights Vader, who kills him again. Yes, that happens. And like, which by the way, if they want to explain what happens to Maul, how he's alive after getting cut in half, you kind of should do. They kind of should do something like that. I'll get into more in depth in a later video uh, down the road. But anyway, Ventress bringing herself back like that is freaking retarded. Like, there are so many lore issues with this. Like a dark, like if a so the acolyte, those witches there, they're probably split off from like the main group of witches with Aaliyah. Because Aaliyah is the founder of the Witches of Dathomir. Former Jedi, kicked out, basically took over Dathomir and found the witches, and that's in both Disney and Expand Universe. Now, as far as why the witches on Peridia, which is the home world of Dathomirians, that's something that hasn't been explained. I mean, you have the Eye of Sion, which Sion's. I mean, I can explain that easily. Aaliyah found that whether it's a qual device or celestial device that acts as an infinity gate, like a mobile infinity gate, started a group of witches in Peridia, basically just expand like her witch empire, the form of witch empire. And then basically after she died, witches divide up in different clans. You had your good ones, your bad ones. Night Sisters obviously being evil, despite what Disney likes you to believe. The Night Sisters are evil. And the Brendock witches, which is probably another group that's split off from like Aaliyah's group, they're evil too. Like I mean, considering probably how you know those twins were made, they were probably made using the Force. Like the Force did not create them; they were made by people using the Force in a very dark side manner. Yes, that is a dark side technique. But and like I'm annoying. I'm like, dude, like I first thought I was like, okay, this kid's too. I was watching. I was like, okay, this kid's too young to be Jax Paven because I think Jax was like around Anakin's age. It ain't Furious. I was like, there is it gonna be a new? So I believe it was an original character. Like so, yeah. So like it was an original character. It's not, based on all we know from him is from this show. Then yeah, basically, the Inquisitor was kind of a waste. Like, it was like, okay, no development for that. I mean, it was basically a villain a week for each. I mean, and then the path. Okay, why the frick is the path so well? If some bounty hunter knows about it, who wasn't even hunting for Jedi, so there's a leak. There's a freaking leak. The path. So Quinlan Voss was gathering young Force users. One of them being like, if the sun that he had in the EU exists in Disney's timeline, you know, would also exist in this one. That if it exists in Disney's timeline, that would be one of those. Then, uh, so how is it so known? How does a bunch of people know where the path is? Like the Empire would be there right now. Like Vader would be leading a freaking army. Like you would have Inquisitors there, Imperial stormtroopers, Darth Vader himself being there. I'm like, if a bounty hunter, like if these all these people know about the path, seems to be it's common, it's well known amongst enough people that like if a bounty hunter who was not hunting for Jedi knows about it, like safe to say the Empire might know about it, and so there's a leak. Someone like, I mean, I know it's not Fight Club, but the first rule of the path should be don't talk about the path. I mean, it's not Fight Club, but that should be the first rule. So yeah, it's just so freaking retarded. And look, Ventress should stay dead. Look, you can't keep bringing all these characters back. You can't keep resurrecting them. You can't like resurrections and surviving all these impalements should be rare. Like if I was gonna if I was making Star Wars, which I would do, I guarantee I would do better than the people working at Lucasfilm because I actually knows more about Star Wars. I've forgotten more about Star Wars than they know. Like I would do better, and if I and whether it may be a resurrection here and there, yes, but it'd be rare, and it would have to mean something. Like, and it would not be like light side. Like resurrection would be a dark side. Would be not a good technique, and it would come at a cost. Like, 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 there's a reason like Cade Skywalker's like the only one who ever to do it with that with seemingly very little cost. Now, probably not in like with Legacy, and I have my theories about how he was able to do that. That that I plan at some point doing a whole video about. But resurrection is not a simple matter. It is not. This treats it as trivial. It's so retarded. Like the force must be so out of balance that however it got out of balance, whether it's a giant wound or something, because you had the wound the force from Knights of the Republic 2, maybe there's a giant wound in the force that caused it to become unbalanced, which that is my theory, that there's a giant wound in the force that caused things to go unbalanced. As far as for how the wound happened, probably something with the wills, but that's not the point. The fact that Ventress could do this is so freaking retarded. It should not be allowed to happen. That should not happen. No outside help. If she was resurrected by someone using the dark side, that would be one thing. But no, she resurrected herself to say, yeah, I just walked out of the afterlife into the land of living. Get the frick out of here with that. No. So dumb. Alright. Now for the next 3 episodes, which was focus on backstory for Cad Bane. So his birth name was Colby. He grew up with his friend Nero on the streets of Duro. Basically they were street rats. Basically, they were recruited by this gang leader named Laszlo for a job. And robbery goes wrong. Some guy gets killed when they run. Nero gets arrested while Colby escapes with Laszlo. And at that point, basically Colby goes by Cad Bane. There's a time jump, and then so first episode has Cad Bane as a kid. Second episode there's a time jump. It shows like Cad Bane as an adult, well, going by Cad Bane, and shown that Nero, who's a deputy to the marshal. So Cad Bane learns that Laszlo was killed by a marshal on Burrow. And he goes there to find whoever killed Laszlo. He meets with Nero, who's a deputy, and Nero says that the marshal killed Laszlo, and Bane tells Nero to stay out of his way. Nero says, basically don't do anything stupid. So Bane lures out the marshal and by starting a fire, and he kills him. You know, Nero basically tells him, and Aaron, who's Bane's girlfriend, convinces him to surrender. Seems to be like she sold him out. Basically, it's like, yeah, Bane's arrested. He spent some time in prison, and so then third episode, Israel Bane had gotten out on a technicality, and he's heading back to Nero's now a marshal. Nero wants to confront Bane, and then basically throughout that episode, there's like some hints about what happened with Aaron. It's revealed that Nero and Aaron had married, and Nero's raising this kid named Isaac, who's like Aaron's son. Basically, and Isaac calls Nero like Papa because Nero's been raising him, and so it's revealed that Aaron died before Bane was released, so she's dead. And then in a duel, you know, basically Bane kills Nero in a duel, and Isaac sees it happen. And basically Nero was saying that Aaron wanted Bane to know something. I was able to figure out pretty early on that basically Isaac was Bane's son. That Aaron was pregnant when Bane got arrested. And so basically Nero is like the stepdad for Isaac. And basically when Nero dies, basically Bane looks at Isaac and realizes that, Isaac's his son, and he like basically some council member of Isaac sees like tells Bane to go away. Basically, I guess like a lot of people know that figured out that Isaac was Bane's son, and Bane just walks away. Doesn't do anything to Isaac, he just walks away. And yeah, that's it for the end. I mean, this set of episodes was definitely better than the first set. I mean, I don't want to see a sympathetic. I mean, look, Cat Bane's a bounty hunter. Technically, bounty hunters are generally morally gray. Whether or not they're good or evil depends on who's paying. I mean, that's how Boba Fett is. Boba Fett's pretty morally gray. I mean, you pay enough, he'll be good. If you pay enough, he'll be bad. I mean, that's how it works. Cad Bane, generally because of how much he's hated by the Republic, he generally works for, villains. Generally works for like the Separatists or the Hutts and all that. Like basically he was not liked by the Republic, by the Jedi. So like he is generally more ruthless than like someone like Boba or Jango. Now I don't know if Cad Bane has kind of like a sense of honor type thing because there is like a honor among thieves type thing for some like Jango Fett, Boba Fett, Hondo, and Naka. There is an honor among thieves. Now they'll do their job, they'll be freaking ruthless, but there is an honor among thieves type thing. And same with like Han Solo, Lando Calrissian before they were with the rebellion. But Cad Bane's generally meant to be like he's basically very rarely, if ever, siding with the good guys. The only time I'm aware of is like the Republic Heroes video game, which was a decent game. It was okay. It was an okay like Clone Wars video game. Cad Bane is like on the side of like good guys, kind of in that one, somewhat. Mostly due to like I think it was he got double crossed or because someone paid well. And yeah. Anyway, but I don't like the whole sympathetic villain thing because there's no such thing as a sympathetic villain. There are tragic villains where bad stuff happens to a villain and causes them to become evil, but they're still evil. That is how anime treats its villains. A lot of the villains is that they're tragic villains. It never the fine line between the difference between a tragic villain and a sympathetic villain is in the story. Sympathetic villains, the story excuses their actions, whereas for tragic villains, their villainous actions are not excused. Like evil's not excused for tragic villains. For sympathetic villains, it is, and that is why people hate sympathetic villains and it's a Hollywood trope because Hollywood there's morals is in low supply in Hollywood, so they aren't constantly right wrongs, not as big of a deal in Hollywood, and so there's all this whole sympathy. Like I don't like the whole sympathetic villain trope. Like I didn't even see Tales of the Empire, and unless they do a Tales of the Empire season 2, I don't plan on watching it. I don't know if they and if Tales was all under one thing on like critic list, I would have watched Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Empire. But I am since all three like Tales of Jedi, Tales of the Underworld, Tales of the Empire, they're all listed separately on critic lists. So I don't have to worry about reviewing them all as one thing. That could be a separate thing. Now, if Tales of Jedi, Tales of the Empire gets second seasons, which I'm surprised they haven't, they mainly I'm surprised Tales of Jedi didn't get. Then I will watch that. Watch them. But that's besides the point. for this one. Okay, you're doing Tails, so you're focused on Crooks. I get why Ventress? Like seriously, why Ventress? Why not Jabba the Hutt, Boba Fett, you know, Jango Fett? Yes, I can understand doing Cad Bane, but it should just been more of him being a bounty hunter, not him like dealing with his past. Like, no, you could have had like this dude forget I don't know, Tales of the Bounty Hunters. You had Cad Bane, Boba Fett, Jango Fett. Well, like there's so many better like why Ventress? And I don't understand why do they bring Ventress back? Like they only bring back only really bring back the female characters. So like Shock T and so Ayla Sakura I think it was in a comic, Ayla Sakura is revealed that somehow survived getting shot by a bunch of like clone troopers they're in Order 66 on Felicia. Somehow survived that. Like even after she collapsed on the ground dead, she was still getting shot. Like she should not be alive. Shakti, well, that's a different thing because you had Force Unleashed where so as far as her death, like Shakti's death, I think there was ideas of killing her, showing her being killed off in Revenge of the Sith, where it was by Anakin Skywalker or by General Grievous. But those didn't happen. Don't know if those scenes are included that scene's included anywhere. I don't think it is. I could be wrong. It's also not within the Revenge of the Sith video game. That was Jocasta Nu, Shin Zarala against Sindral's Padawan, so their deaths were shown in that video game, which that is a great Star Wars video game. So unfortunately Shakti shouldn't be alive. She's like the last Jedi Master Galen Marek fights before he and Vader confront the Emperor in like the middle of that game. So Shakti being alive, that pissed me off. Aayla Secura, yes, I was like, what the frick? And it's the only do it to the female character, like Rivas, or I mean, yeah, I mean the whole, I mean outside the Grand Inquisitor, which that was explained by he has like multiple hearts. Yeah, I can't remember how many hearts they say he has. I think it's like four or something in Obi-Wan. So it's not like the Doctor where it's like two hearts. But yeah, so Aayla Secura, someone else around, and Ventress. So she didn't survive. She was resurrected. Well, she resurrected herself, which I freaking hate. Bane stuff, I thought was just stupid. I was like, so I was like, okay. I was like, they never directly said that Isaac was Bane's son, but anyone could tell that basically Isaac was Bane's son. Everyone could figure it out. I mean, I figured it out like almost like very shortly after he came in. I was like, wait, wait, he's blue and red eyes. That's freaking Bane's son. So yeah, that happened. Yeah, I thought it was dumb. I didn't like this. It's not the worst thing that has been done. It's better than Andor, I would say, but that's Andor's not great. And Andor's not good. And I'll probably take some heat for saying Andor's not good, but it's not good. So yeah, I thought this sucked. It's not the worst thing ever, but it's boring and really I expect I like if I'm getting Tales like Underworld, like you know Obviously, they call it that because of the Underworld TV show that was canceled. I mean, I bet that's what they were trying to go with, trying to do. Like, show us some actual mobster stuff. Like, get some actual gangsters. Like, we have not had a proper mobster show in Star Wars. Well, Book of Boba Fett was not a proper mobster show. Like, no, like I expect, like when was waiting for I was expecting some like actual mobster stuff, like something you would see out of like Sopranos, Goodfellas, Godfather, Boardwalk Empire, Black Mass, actual mobster stuff, gangsters, guess what? Everyone being a freaking prick. Obviously, you want to see like everyone dropping the f bombs, like standard mobster trope where everyone likes to drop the f bomb. No, not that. It's freaking Star Wars. But and this is not an underworld show. Like what the frick? It was some actual gangsters. Like there was no mobsters in this. No Huts, no Pikes, no Black Suns, no Crimson Dawn. Who no one cares about Crimson Dawn. Like nothing. Like what the like no talent. Well, talent card probably been pretty young, and Disney hasn't even used him yet. No, uh, George or George or Cardass, who was in the EU, was kind of like an information broker for you know Darth Sidious, he was also the mentor of Talon Card. So not him. Like who the frick do we have in this? There was no gangsters. This is not. It was so freaking retarded. Like gosh. Like I don't even know what's that. I mean, next it's probably gonna be like a Tales of the Sith or something, or Tales of Rebellion, or Resistance, or Republic. Like, who knows? Like, who who knows what they're gonna do? This is so dumb. Like, this was a boring show. See, I can't really recommend this. Last of Us season 2, episode 4. So in this one, it starts off. You have these like soldiers from Fedra, basically cutting the crap. Doing what soldiers do, like when they're not fighting. Inside armored vehicle. They're in Seattle. Basically, one soldier's talking about confronting what they call voters with the help of someone named Greenberg, who didn't understand what disseminating was, and some like recruit asked what the heck they're talking about. Basically, so Isaac Dixon, played by Jeffrey Wright, says that basically they're called voters because they took away their rights. Voters is just a term to like mock them. And it's revealed that this scene's in the past, and that basically in the present time, Isaac is the head of the WLF, and then basically basically like Fedra. So in that flashback, Fedra is surrounded by voters. Isaac's gonna talk to them, and basically it's revealed that he throws a grenade in the back of the vehicle and basically sells him out to WLF to basically be able to join the group, and now of course he leads it in the present time. Yeah, basically yeah, and then yeah, Yeah, it's a weird scene. Then we see Ellie and Dina going to his pharmacy, and then Dina grabs something that she thinks she might need. Trying to find because basically like last week, you try to find whatever you can use. Post-apocalyptic, you can use whatever you use. Basically, they're in Seattle. It's very wilderness like. There's all these like stuff there that Ellie and Dina don't understand. They see all these skeletons where possible battlefield. Then like basically, you know, Dina sees WLF hand on this satellite dish, and you know, Ellie's eager to rush in. Dina expressed caution. So like, they wait until dark. Then Ellie starts singing the song uh, "Take on Me" with this rant with this guitar that's there. Yeah, I don't know why they spent that long on that moment. And basically, at this point, Isaac. This is like I think it's like over a decade since that flashback happened. So basically, he's basically gone insane. And basically, like, yeah, and so then he's wanting to torture like scars. As he calls them, basically it's a slang term for like seraphites, which is like followers of this prophet from that's mentioned in the previous episode. The seraphites not giving away information, and since he doesn't give away information, Isaac just kills him. Burton, who was the recruit, he had joined the WLF along with Isaac. So like, yeah, basically they're Ellie and Dean are then traveling around. You know, we see like WLF being very brutal. Ellie and Dean fight some of them, some of the WLF. They try, but then they come across some infected. Ellie's bitten by an infected, and Dina sees it happen. Dina, points her gun at Ellie. Ellie's like mentions that she's immune, and basically after they test it, basically it becomes clear to a little bit that Ellie's telling the truth. Then Dina reveals that she's pregnant with Jesse's child. Basically, like Ellie's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a dad," which is that part's kind of funny because she does look kind of, as Austin Powers would say, she looks kind of mannish. So yeah, basically like Ellie and Dina then have a very eventful night and morning. And in the next morning, Ellie tells Dina about how she got bit and why she covered up the bite of tattoos, basically so she can get like basically she want to wear short sleeves again, so she covered up the bite mark with tattoos so that she could actually wear short sleeves again. Then Dina says something about like basically the reason she was with Jesse for so long is because like basically her mother didn't like the fact that she was bi, so told Dina's like you're only gonna be with boys. So that's why she would try to work things out with Jesse, which did lead to a kid being conceived. Basically Dina wants to be with Ellie. So with using these walkie-talkies that they stole from the WLF, they know where to find Abby. Ellie tells Dina to stay behind because the kid, but Dina says no, so they guess it, episode ends with them about to leave to go after Abby. Now, okay, yeah, this is boring. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, as far as I mean, it's not necessarily a great, you know, this isn't necessarily like a great episode. That was pretty boring. It's like we didn't need this long with Ellie and Dina stuff. Like, give us more like the gameplay, give us more of the action. This is making the same mistakes that season one did, where it takes place a bunch of the gameplay segments, so it's just a boring slog. It's no action. Guess what? You have basically the zombie apocalypse. Give us some of the freaking infected. Give us more of it. More of them. More of the actual fighting. Yeah. You know, Jeffrey Wright does a good job with what he's given. In the guest role as Isaac Dixon, with what he's given, he does decent job at that. Because I mean, he is a good actor. Jeffrey Wright is a good actor, but it's like I don't care about this story. It's like, yeah, Joel's dead. Everyone's freaking dead. So yeah, I ain't care for this. Yep. So onward to next week's, which probably will suck as well. And that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.